There are a lot of people who say they did not get what they paid for. They bought an English bulldog from Brook Roke and discovered problems that will cost them hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars.
Keep your money, your credit cards, and your ID rolled up in your front pocket. Also, when you're walking in the parking lot going into the store, avoid talking on your cell phone. Gorin says she was rolling down her window to make her order when a man popped up and demanded money. As hot as things are right now for these kids, they're probably set to get a lot hotter on Thursday. That's when all the high schools in Florida are allowed to put on the pads.
Jim, have we been able to pinpoint how long it was before they think he went missing, before the family realized that he wasn't there?
Mr. Gilliard, we're interested in obviously talking to the church and their side of the story about the protests. How do you feel about all the heat that's come down on you? Do you have any comment for us? Workers here at Ronnie's Tires say they've never had a disgruntled customer quite like this. According to police, a customer here on Saturday got so upset she chased workers with a butcher knife and a metal pipe like this one.
Next thing I know, it just something snapped in it.
Kenneth Chapman says he wasn't rude. He wasn't disrespectful. He was just trying to talk to Paulette Martino about her rims.
She asked for my name. I stuck my head around the corner. That's when she came at me with the butcher knife.
Police say the 45-year-old admitted to using a knife to try and get her money back. Her arrest report says she drove to the tire shop on North Main Street with her father and then chased around a very scared 23-year-old.
You know, I'm a big fella. I don't get scared like that, but I was scared about that knife. It was that long. It looked like she was going to treat me like a turkey.
Chapman says he did whatever he could to get away from the suspect with the butcher knife until he got into a corner and did the only thing he could, which is jump up on the roof.
When she came back to the car, I went like this here, like this here. And she's steady. Come on down here. You such a man. You such a man. But I'm not coming down there with no knife.
Police say when her father took away the knife, Martino picked up a pipe.
She grabs the breaker bar inside, and she's swinging it like this, running through the shop. I ran back out this side. He said, call 911. I dialed 911.
I just don't like to see nobody in jail, especially if it could have been avoided.
This one-page report here from the NTSB doesn't draw any conclusions, so we still don't know what exactly caused the helicopter to go down and kill those 3 people on board. But there's an awful lot of new information here, and we learned a lot of specifics about the final minutes of that flight. We don't know what caused the helicopter to crash, but according to the report, Hoke Smith never got higher than 700 feet. Investigators determined he was flying 300 feet in the air, a mile from where he eventually went down. Just before crashing, the report says the helicopter struck a tree about 30 feet from the ground.
In a very short period of time, he goes from 300 feet to hitting trees.
Don Mashievsky has 35 years of experience in the air. He flew helicopters in the Army and is now an attorney specializing in aircraft accidents.
I think he clipped a tree. That's my opinion at this point. He clipped a rather high, large tree, and after that, if you knock your rotor system out of balance, you're just along for the ride.
Mashievsky says you can draw conclusions from the size of the debris field. The NTSB report says the debris stretched 320 feet one way and 70 feet the other way. Maciejewski says for a helicopter crash, this is a relatively small debris field. And he says his experience tells him the small size rules out mechanical error.
But it means the pilot thought he was here when he wasn't here, and he flew it into the ground.
Is that you guessing, or is that what the evidence is telling you?
That's what 35 years of flying and doing air crash cases tells me.
Now, the investigation is very long. The National Transportation Safety Board says it could take 6 months from now to a year and a half before their final factual report is complete. Now, at that point, we may find out what actually caused the crash from investigators, but there's always the possibility, Tom and Mary, that we may never know what caused Hoke Smith to go down.
Especially, Jason, I'm curious about this, that wreckage burned for a long time. So what are the chances that there's just insufficient evidence to ever answer the question everybody wants to know? What happened?
It depends who you ask. You got to remember the crash site. It took them 6 hours to find the crash site, and it burned for most of those 6 hours. The NTSB said in their report, their one-page report, that 80% of the actual helicopter burned. It actually works. I'm getting some good reactions here at the airport. It's a good workout, too. You do this for 4 or 5 hours, your shoulder gets pretty tired. I saw this guy. I drove by him a couple times on 95 going northbound. He had a sign up, and I drove by him, and I said, I have to do a story on this. I got to figure out why this guy stands out here in the cold and does this.
found out about it, and it's actually part of his ministry, and he takes it all over the country. How many thousands of cars do you think pass under this walkway on 95 every day?
Yeah! Woo!
Paul Quillos is trying to reach every one of them with a sign and a wave.
Yeah! Did you hear that?
Quillos gets a real kick out of doing this. It's become part of his life. A ministry he created 3 years ago based on waving to strangers. Waving is his philosophy. Quillos has taken his church all over the country.
And then it just built. It's like I got this huge freeway church. Reaction, lots of beeps, waves, love, not much negative. I've only got like 5 negative. This is the Bible Belt. Seattle is like, but hey, I get a lot of love in Seattle too. Get a few more birds in Seattle.
Brant Swindle became interested after he heard Quillos talking at a Celebration church.
He's telling me about this sign ministry that he has. Yeah, and I could just sense in his voice the passion this guy's got for this, so I had to come check it out.
The 26-year-old man who shot 3 Lake City police officers turned the gun on himself after a long standoff in Lake City. Deputies say Jesse Custer opened fire on 3 officers who were serving a domestic violence injunction at his home. After the shooting, Custer refused to come out of the house, and deputies evacuated a 4-block radius. The 3 officers injured in the shooting are said to be in stable condition. We're told that 2 of the 3 have already been released from a hospital. Now, deputies say they still have a lot of work to do securing Custer's home and the chemical agents and explosives there. They are, however, allowing some residents to return to their houses this morning. The man accused of squatting in a $500,000 home in Oakleaf Plantation is expected to make his first appearance in court this morning. Clay County deputies made the arrest yesterday. Deputies charged Marcellus Dunbar with grand theft and burglary. This is the house here in this video. Officials say the man has filed paperwork for adverse possession, a controversial Florida statute that allows change of ownership to a home. But even though it's filed, Clay County officials say it does not mean he owns the house. Well, the family who purchased the home still plans to move in this weekend, even though Dunbar's furniture and other items are inside. He's due to be in court later this morning. Their goal is to spread the word about some key political issues involving real estate across the country. The National Association of Realtors, a lobbying group out of Washington, drove this bus around Jacksonville yesterday. Channel 4's Aisha Faines explains why the group thinks if a new home buyer law passes in Washington, it will make it too tough for anyone to buy a home. It's 7:06. We have a very unusual safety alert to tell you. People who live in San Marco need to keep their eyes open because the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office says it's received 2 separate reports in 2 separate days about sightings of a panther on the loose in the area. Thought it might have been a coincidence. The Jaguars, of course, in Charlotte taking on the Carolina Panthers, and we have 2 different panther sightings in San Marco. One was yesterday, one was earlier in the week.